we are worried about you.
I clicked the link. I wasn't sure. I thought I was waiting to be let in.
No, that's good. I think as long as you are here now. Can I see you? I can hear you.
Can you see me? I have my camera on.
Okay.
Can you see me?
Yes, now I can see you. Good. Okay, let us do this. So Moumita, we are a little late because of our technical difficulty. Nowadays we can use that word so frequently. And so, ASAAL screening process is very simple. We'll ask you questions that is related to the community and us. We have around 18 people other than you. Not all will ask the questions. So we'll take a quick minute to introduce us. My name is Mahfoudin. I am the National President. Reginald, go ahead.
Reginald Rajakunis, the Announced Secretary of SAAL.
Okay, then Korimbai. Unmute. Everybody quickly unmute. So there's
Mohammed Korim Chaudhary, National Secretary ASAAL.
Shahana.
I am Shahana Begum, National Women's Chair of ASAAL.
Dr. Mujibur Rahman.
I'm Dr. Mujibur Rahman Majumdar, President, Brooklyn Chapter.
Okay, hold on a second. I think Adnan is here. Okay. And then Farooq Hussain.
Yes, Farooq Hussain from New Jersey Chapter, President ASAAL.
Alauddin.
This is MD Alauddin from the Bronx Chapter. I'm the first founding secretary. Thank you.
Sharafat Hussain.
Thank you. Good evening. This is Sharafat Hussain, US Capital Chapter President and Vice Chair and National Committee.
MD Islam.
Yeah, this is MD Islam, Queen's President. Yes, sir.
Okay. Reginald, you introduce?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. This name is Sharmin Tahir.
Sharmin Tahir. I am the member of Women Chapter in Queens.
Queen Chapter Women Committee.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good, it's okay. She's doing good. Sultana Khan.
Hello, my name is Sultana Khanam, Political Action Director, Queens Chapter.
Syed Tahmid Al-Haq.
Good evening. Syed Tahmid Al-Haq, President, Bronx Chapter, ASAAL.
Islam.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Adan Islam, the Women's Committee Chair of Queens Chapter ASAAL.
Afroza Begum. Afroza, unmute.
Hi, my name is Afroza Begum. I am the ASAAL Vice President.
Yes. Alauddin.
I did.
Oh, you did already. Okay. On my left. MD Hussain. MD Hussain. Georgia Hussain. Okay. Anybody left?
Queen Chapter Secretary.
Okay. Yes, the name is moving around. Harjit is there, and I don't know. Nulok Bhai, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay, please.
Okay, this is Nurul Haq, Executive Vice President, ASAAL Queens Chapter. I'm a proud 1199er, a member of Community Board 12, Moumita. Nice to meet you.
Okay. Anybody else left? Seeing none, Moumita, you will have 3 minutes to define yourself and let us know how many votes you think you need to win and who is your opponent.
Sure. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for this honor of a lifetime to sit here and screen with you. I think that ASAAL is a historic organization that is doing amazing work, right? Representing labor leaders in our community. And I'm running to become the first South Asian candidate in City Council. So this is a huge honor to be sitting here with all of you. I want to say Assalamu alaikum, namaste, or whatever you believe in. welcome. And my name is Moumita Ahmed, and I am a political activist from Jamaica, Queens. I came here when I was 7 years old from Bangladesh when I was with my parents, and I've lived in this district for 22 years. I went to PS 131, Ryan Junior High, Bronx High School of Science, and then Stony Brook University. And afterwards, I worked on multiple campaigns to elect people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I worked on Bernie Sanders' campaign. I founded to my own organization when it's called People for Bernie Sanders, which has 2 million followers on Facebook, on social media. And most recently, Bangladeshi Americans for Political Progress and Queens Mutual Aid Network. I served through the Queens Mutual Aid Network, served over 2,000 families in Queens with food, medicine, groceries, and currently helping 12 families with rent relief. Our campaign is about serving those with the least power, people like my parents who are immigrants and worked in fast food restaurant and in a factory to raise me and my brother, people who can't speak perfect English but work really, really hard to make a living, people who would benefit from a strong labor movement, especially those with a commitment to unionism. And I want to leverage the power of organized labor for our working families in this district, which is incredibly diverse. These are not statements that I'm telling you to get your endorsement. It's just who I am. As someone who grew up in a working class home, I know the struggles firsthand of having to navigate the system that favors bosses over workers, right? And so my parents, they worked low-wage jobs to raise me, and that is the reality of so many of our people in this district. And for the last couple of years, our council member hasn't done enough, especially during the pandemic, to help those people. It was people like me who went out and risked our health to help our neighbors. This is why I'm running. I am best poised to win this. I have the support of a strong, diverse coalition from state senators to assembly members to council members who have endorsed me. I have a Working Families Party endorsement, which is one of the biggest labor organization in the state. I have the endorsement of New York Communities for Change, which is one of the largest grassroots movement for Black and Brown immigrant folks. I have the endorsement of Bangladeshi American Advocacy Group, Muslim Entrepreneurs Association, Hispanic American Voter Association, the Jewish Vote. I believe I have the collected over 1,600 signatures. I was the first to get on the ballot. Okay, and I have $25,000. I'm at least 132,000 of it is matchable. So I'm a strong candidate with the base, with the campaign, with the coalition to win this. And our competition is simple. It's James Gennaro. He's a former council member. However, this is a district with one of the largest South Asian community. And we don't have a single person in office. Most of our people are workers. So it's really important that we elect somebody.
We'll hear more from you after your 3 minutes is gone. So now, I think, Nurullah, are you there? Nurullah?
Yes, I'm here.
What number question you have? Number 4?
I have 3 and 4.
Ask number 4.
Okay. Moumita.
Yes.
I congratulate for becoming a candidate, first of all.
Thank you
I am
so
also
much.
living in Jamaica. Okay, my question to you, if you are elected, and I wish and hope to be elected, what will be your top 3 legislative priorities? I know our community have a lot of demands, a lot of needs, but what will be your top 3 priorities?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. And I'm really happy to learn that you're in my district. So I think right now we need to do something about COVID, right? Like we need a COVID relief plan that includes the families who have been left out of getting unemployment. Half of all immigrants in New York City have not received pandemic assistance or pandemic relief. I believe the council can do something about this. And so my priority will be to ensure that that this dark winter, where we have a surge of COVID, that we have the proper funding to make sure families can safely quarantine or safely go to work, right? And that their jobs are intact, that they're able to pay rent, that they're able to pay their bills. Number two is housing. I think we saw with COVID that our housing system is broken. We need to change the ULURP process so that communities have more say in these big developments that are approved without the community's imposed, that are imposed on the community, like the Flushing rezoning, right? So I think that we need to change. And the third thing is we have to do something about funding for our seniors and our youth. We need to bring funding and create more youth programs, invest in community-based organizations that are going to do community development work in working class communities like ours, right? In the areas of Jamaica, Briarhood, where it's more condensed, and actually do the work of building youth centers, senior centers, programs to help working class people, help young people, right, from working class families have a leg up, have opportunities, have more resources available to them.
Moumita, let us go to
Moumita, Mr. President, I have a question, related question to Moumita, and I really appreciate her time today here. Moumita, this is Mohammed Chowdhury, ASAAL National Secretary. You said about the housing issues. What is your thought regarding the domestic violence that our community has been suffering for a long time, and there is no domestic violence shelter? That cultural sensitivity, they follow the cultural sensitivity like the Jewish community has it. We do not have it, anything. What is your idea? If elected, what kind of proposal you will place in the city council? Thank you.
And all answers should be given in 60 to 90 seconds because you have only 20 minutes to ask all these questions. So please be brief.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is something that I actually had to deal with when I was doing the Queens Mutual Aid Network. I saw our women, Bangladeshi women in particular, in homeless shelters, struggling to practice, praying, to follow their regular daily rituals, whatever it is, cultural traditions, and suffer. And I actually helped somebody named, her name was...
No name. Go ahead.
God, I forget her name. But anyways.
We do not want to know her name.
Anyways, the point is, I think that's really, really important. And I think that we need to deal with domestic violence in our communities. It's something that we need to destigmatize and talk about, and fund organizations like ASAAL, and Saki, and other organizations that do the work, I believe, like Safest, and community organizations that deal specifically with women, right, and domestic violence, that they have enough funding to give these women the ability to leave their abusive homes, get a job, and find housing on their own and not have to rely on a homeless shelter. And I think we have to get discretionary funding for that, which we haven't been getting.
Thank you. Sultana, number 17. Sultana, unmute. Yes. Number 17.
Hi, Moumita. My name is Sultana. As I introduced myself, the Political Action Director, Queens Chapter. My question is to you. The state legislature gave a significant amount of money for pre-kindergarten education since 2014. What educational priorities do you think that the legislature should focus on in 2021 that will improve the New York City public school system?
Thank you for that question. Our public school system is owed $4 billion. Okay, we have one of the most segregated school systems in the country. We really need to invest in quality education. Our school buildings are falling apart. Our public schools are overcrowded. I finished 6th grade in a trailer park. We need to make sure that there's enough funding for our public schools, and that we, especially in communities that continue to face disinvestment. I think that's really key, is that creating even some kind of matching funds program for areas, for schools in targeted areas where there are families who are living and making under a certain amount of money. And I think that's really, really important, is to target and specifically talk about the community, or, put funding, direct funding towards areas and communities where there are working class people or low income people, parents who are struggling to send their kids to school, to buy them the proper equipment to do remote learning, right? Making sure that our teachers are equipped with the proper enough PPEs and safety gears during the pandemic, and just in general put more money back into our schools through the budget.
Thank you. Adan, number 9. Unmute. Yes.
Okay. Since the Bengali-speaking population the fastest growing among South Asians, how will your office will support to expand Bengali language at every level if you are elected?
Thank you so much. So language justice means a lot to me. As I mentioned earlier, my parents, they had to struggle because they didn't speak perfect English. At 8 years old, I had to talk to bank tellers and grocery clerks and healthcare workers on their behalf. We need to make language justice a priority. That means providing.
You might have seen that already we are seeing ballots in Bengali in some voting centers and polls in some parts of Queens. How is your plan to scale up?
So I don't think it's enough to just make ballots in Bengali. Like, as I was doing campaign finance stuff, I saw that their Bangla translation wasn't great. And we actually need to make sure that everything is translated, right? That we make things language accessible. When people go to the bank, that there's language accessible literature. When they get their bills, that it's language accessible. That when they go to the schools, that there's a language interpreter at PTA meetings. Like, we need a task force that's going to focus in areas where there's a high population of immigrants coming in and moving in. And we have to make sure that they have the support to assimilate, to navigate the system properly.
Very good. Thank you. Roji,
That by providing language accessible immigrant lawyers.
You have number 22 with you? Number 22?
Yes, I have a number 22. Yes.
Go ahead.
Hey, Moumita. Yeah, I'm running my question right now.
Read the whole thing. Read the whole thing.
Yes. After your endorsement, we will work extremely hard to get you elected. If elected, will you lead an ASAAL cause in the city council?
So caucus in the city council.
Oh, sorry, caucus in the city council. How will you and your staff make sure to maintain a strong, continuous relationship with ASAAL? Please be advised to maintain the confidentially.
No, that's not the question.
Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Okay. So, Moumita, please go ahead. Answer this question on ASAAL relationship.
Absolutely. I think it's really amazing that there's a labor organization working to bring people from our community together. And one of my big platforms is to create more union jobs, and also make sure that workers have an easier time, or unions have an easier time organizing workers. And actually city council playing a big role in educating constituents about why it's important to join a union, why labor, the history of labor in this country is so rich, and especially in New York, why it matters, what the union, the labor movement has done for us. And I think ASAAL plays a role in that, right? Because you're continuing a history of that, but for our communities, of our South Asian community. So that is something to be prideful about. And so of course I will work with you. I will start a caucus, and I will make sure to push working class people's agendas and platforms, right, at front and center.
Okay, Mohammed, let me do this.
I just had could I follow up on the union part?
Yes, yes, go ahead quickly.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, with a lot of the younger generation, they're not very union driven. How would you get them involved more in the union?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So it's a great idea, right? But how do you get people that are of a certain age to be, say, let's be pro-union?
Right. And part of it is because unions are currently under attack, right? Like never before. You have Janus versus ASME. You have all these, even our politicians don't support labor unions because they're taking money from corporate interests. And I think what we're seeing is more and more young people, right, are interested. However, the issue is most of us do gig worker job. We're freelancers, right? So the first thing that we have to do, and this is also in my platform, is to change the laws to include gig workers and classify them as employees, so then we can start organizing young people, right? Organizing them into unions, and also making sure that education is a big part of it. And so our the city council has to invest money in organizations and programs to educate people, especially particularly young people, about why it's important to unionize. And so I think once we start doing the education, people will be interested. And I know this because I fought with the unions for Fight for 15. I've worked on campaigns where labor unions were central to those campaigns. I worked on Senator Bernie Sanders' campaign, which brought in so many young people into the labor movement for the first time.
Thank
so
you.
I know how to do
Let us do this. Yeah, you have a good answer. Now, let me tell you this. We are not a labor organization. I think this is a misconception people by looking at our name. Alliance of South Asian American Labor, in the context of our organization, anybody who works in exchange of money, give their time, energy, effort, and work are labor. And that is why we created ASAAL, because South Asian people are no different. But what we do, all our 100% time we spend with the community. So we are a labor and community-based organization. Why labor people are most involved? The reason is that in the labor movement, what we see in an organization, even in a local union, they call in this country, when you have a demand, you have a place to put it, you have a way to lobby it, you have a way. So that is the technique we brought to the community. So in the future, that will be the case. Now, I want to give you one last question and give the way our community should understand ranks voting. What should you tell them? Because they are thinking to vote only for you or only for somebody else, only for one. How you are educating them?
Yes, so I actually worked on the campaign to pass ranked choice voting.
Yes, I know that.
As a field and education director. So I have worked with communities in educating them about this. So it's really, really simple. When you go, when you go to the polls, you don't have to pick just one person. You can pick your top 5. And if that is the, 5 South Asians running, then rank them as your number 1, number 2, number 3. And if you don't feel comfortable, you can just do that one. That's okay too. But the idea is that our communities, whenever we try to run for an election and there's multiple people running, we would split the vote. Look at the, the election with Weprin and Mahfouzal and Al Baldea, right? Because there were 2 South Asians running, they split the vote. But if you added their votes together, we could have easily had a South Asian candidate. Same thing when Ali ran for city council, right? You had multiple South Asians running and it split the vote. So through ranked choice voting, we're not going to have that anymore, because instead of splitting the vote, people just have to pick their 1 or 2 or 3, and that'll give at least one of us a chance in winning.
Thank you.
Not the first round, but the second round. So the idea, yeah.
No, the rest is good. So now it is your last 2 minutes. You will be telling us how you want to win this race. You ran for district leader. You got around 200 votes. I think you lost by 50 votes or something, which is very remarkable. But this election will be a little different. More people will be voting. How you plan to win? And it is your last 2 minutes of closing statement.
Yeah, thank you. So I think, look, I just need to make sure that I can get through round 1, because nobody's going to get over 51%, which means that I need to make sure I'm one of the South Asians that stick around, right? And I think that I have the base. I have the 1,000 people who voted for me in June. I have the Zara buildings because I'm the only tenant running, and I've been working with them with the Queens Mutual Aid Network. I have a base. And I have a coalition of Black and brown organizations who are putting in volunteer hours and efforts. I have over 15 endorsements from all across the board, from Jewish, Latino, Black voters. So I think that I have the coalition to make sure that I win in round 2. So even if I'm not everybody's first choice, if I'm everyone's second choice, I can win, right? And I have the base to stick around to make sure that I'm not eliminated. And I have the funding to start a strong campaign. And I have enough signatures that I've collected to be first on the ballot. So I have the best chance of winning against James Gennaro. And I think that it's all about this coalition. At the end of the day, if you endorse me, you would be joining our 15 organization strong coalition to elect, right? To put in more bodies and more constituents, dollars, fundraising to help me get elected. So I think my win is dependent on you. It hinges on you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really wish you the best of luck. We'll be informing you in a day or 2. But I think the way you explained us to the ranks voting, hope our community understand this. Thank you very much. You will be leaving us with best of luck.
Thank you so much. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Good luck. Good luck.
Our next candidate is here.
Yeah.